We're also have more than $10,000 available through our grant funds for scholarships. We award those scholarships to send tourism professionals to the Florida Governors Conference, to the Southeast Tourism Marketing College, just various tourism-related events. Next year, we intend to continue to enhance our website, really bring the tours to life through interactive maps and that sort of thing. We have begun and will continue and explore our Florida blog that you can see on our website, and just really keep the train rolling with people, finding out what an awesome place this is. So we have 7 contributing county partners at this time. We also get in-kind services and funding from Florida Fish and Wildlife, the Department of Economic Opportunity, West Florida Electric Co-op, Visit Florida, Chipola College. We have several partners that are working with us to really bring visitors here to the region and increase economic development through tourism. And so that's a kind of quick update of Riverway and what we're doing. What we would like today is to ask you to, you have in your packet a copy of a resolution. We're asking all of our counties throughout the region to designate October 2015 as Explore Our Florida Month. We will be launching our marketing campaign in early September, and then really trying to encourage visitors through activities and contests and games to visit the area during the month of October, bringing visitors here during your shoulder season. So that's our request for you this morning, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution as requested.
Second.
Have a motion second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your partnership.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
thank you for all that you're doing and working with TDC. I just have one question,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chairman. We had talked with you about trying to do more of the hospitality
Yes, ma'am.
training, and you feel like you have funding in order to be able to do that for us in the future?
I do. I believe we'll actually be able to hold another workshop during this project year, but we're also going to be requesting funding to continue those. Last year was kind of a pilot project for us, and it worked really well. So absolutely, Goodwill is very excited about it, and so we'll be bringing them back here to Franklin County.
Well, our folks really enjoyed that, and we feel it was really beneficial to our hospitality community here, because that's one of our primary employers. So thank you for
Absolutely.
doing that, and we look forward to you holding the next one.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Commissioners, on my report, I just have a couple of other items I wanted to bring to your attention. First of all, the TDC collections, we've talked about this for the last couple of months, and I just wanted to draw your attention to the collections report that we have before you this week, or this month rather. We did see, after February's dramatic drop in collections, we did see that April was up dramatically, and this tells us that the back and forth is really a function of how some of the larger rental companies are reporting their numbers. And as I told you earlier, it was our suspicion that the management companies that do monthly rentals in February didn't report those numbers until April, and that showed a dramatic drop in the numbers for February. We're back on track now. We're averaging 7% increase over last year. I might point out that the state average increase for last year is 8%, so we're right under the standard that the state is doing, and we're happy that we've seen that result. And finally, we've got a changed meeting schedule this summer. We've only got one meeting a month. We're having our board meeting tomorrow, and then we're having another meeting at the end of August. As a result, we're working through our contracts, and we have a group of them for your consideration today. They're the vendor contracts and the visitor center contracts. They're the same as last year, except for the change in names and dates. And then next month, we'll be bringing the sustaining grant contracts for your consideration. So we have those for you to consider today.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the contracts as submitted by Mr. Blair on our iPads that we have here, being that they are the same contracts. And, of course, we certainly need to run these by Mr. Schuler just for double checking, but I make my motion based on a contingency as approval by the county attorney.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion, a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And that's my report. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Any questions?
Yeah. Okay. No, fine.
Good.
Thank
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good week.
We're going to take just a 5-minute recess before we go into TDC. Board of County Commissioners bow back in session. We're going to start with the planning and zoning, but I have, Mr. Smokey needs to speak first.
We, let's move on, Mr. Chairman, until we get to the
Okay.
commercial site plan approval.
Okay. Planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item 1 in the planning and zoning was a critical shoreline application. It was approved by planning and zoning. It's a request to construct a single-family private dock at 1831 Bayview Drive, Lot 8, Bayview Village, St. George Island. The boardwalk is going to be 350 by 4 with a 12 by 16 deck, with the dock being 90 by 4 feet and 8 by 20 terminal platform with boat lift. Again, there were no objections, and it was approved by planning and zoning.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we accept the vote of P&Z on this matter for approval.
Second.
Have a motion second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 2 is a rezoning request. So what they recommended approval for was the public hearing, not necessarily the rezoning request. The consideration of a request to rezone lots 1 through 8, Block Z, Lanark Village, from C4 commercial mixed use to C3 commercial recreation. That's this area over here, above the cliff, and then the cliff's all the way over to the end, Lanark Village.
Let me ask a question. Mr. Schuler,
Yes, ma'am.
this is the last lot that Mr. Hughes came before us a few years ago and added to his RV park, am I right?
Yes, ma'am. That is
Okay.
my
I make a motion to approve to go to public hearing.
Have a motion second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 3, consideration of a request for lot reconfiguration for lots 17, 18, 19, and 20. It's Block 5 East, Unit 1 in St. George Island. Fairpoint Communication, formerly St. Joe Telephone, and SGI Real Estate would like to evenly trade out half of each of the above-noted lots. There's a typo in your request there. Fairpoint would own the south, and the company would own, SGI would own the north part of the blocks. And let me explain, it's a lot easier for me to show you. What it is, I'm not sure who owns which lots right now, but they want to group the lots together, divide it in half. Fairpoint has a building right here, they'll take the south half, the bottom half, and SGI Realty will take the top half. There were no objections, the P&Z discussed it, and they were in favor of it.
What can you do on half a lot?
Lot swap.
What can you do on a half a lot, Mike, if you bust some lots in half?
Well, it's-
You're not gonna have the square footage to do anything.
No, but it's more so that Fairpoint owns the building on the bottom, and they were trying to have to do any expansion, they would be able to expand on the bottom half,
But on the
correct?
south, but what on the north side, what would those people do? I mean, you can't
Well-
develop it or anything, because you ain't got but a half a lot.
Of the 4, it kind of reconfigures from being long to this way.
Yeah, I understand. But I mean, if you try to do anything with those lots, you're gonna run into a
Mr. Chula has that puzzle, though.
quagmire.
Well, the other stuff you have highlighted,
Over here,
yes,
that's the next item.
okay, go ahead.
You happy to get Amy, she could explain.
Yeah, I don't understand I don't wanna do something that's not gonna work for I can understand where it's gonna work for
Or
the
Fairpoint.
telephone company, yeah, because
Yeah.
they're not gonna, probably not gonna be developing anything
Or just
there to
expanding the
start with.
building.
But on the other side, it looks like to me, somebody's gonna,
Somebody ain't gonna build something.
They're not back-to-back lots, they're street to street, correct?
exactly.
He's gonna go get Amy.
But you can't hardly do nothing with those lots on the island now because it's so skinny and the square footage is very minimal, and then you turn around and divide that in half. I mean, I don't know if I'm looking at this the right way or not. I'm seeing the attorney kind
That's,
of.
it says half lot. The north half
I
and the
don't-
south half.
Mr. Chairman, I do have some questions, but I think we should wait to hear from Amy. I'm hearing this for the first time this morning, and I have some similar concerns regarding densities and development, but, I mean, Amy may have all the answers to those questions, I don't know. but
So you didn't attend the P and Z when this was discussed?
I don't ordinarily attend P and Z
Okay.
meetings unless either Alan requests me to or the board directs me to.
I didn't know because he wasn't here if you had
I
attended or not.
apologize.
No, ma'am.
Amy's actually issuing a permit now, but she said the realty company hasn't, they're for it, but they haven't presented a site plan or, what plans they have for it. But when they do, they'd have to bring it to this board. And Amy's telling me that a variance will not be needed to do that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a recommendation, since we have some questions remaining, that we table this item for further consideration.
I know how-
Second.
All right, I have a motion, second on the floor. All in favor?
Uh,
All opposed? Motion carries.
What I'll do, Commissioners, is have Amy send you guys maybe a script of explaining what they can and can't do, in case you have.
Well, we'd like to have Mr. Schuler's input on what they're trying to do as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And if this has ever been done before, because I don't remember,
A reconfiguration in this
not like
manner?
this. I
Okay.
mean, I can see, I'm gonna trade lots 2 and 3 for lots 3 and 4, but
Yeah.
dividing them in half like that, I
Can't
don't
build
know.
nothing.
I would say the only question that came up with P and Z is, suppose somebody else tries to do this with, and it's not as clean. I
Well-
guess if I can explain it in that manner.
Commissioners, in the past, I believe there have been instances where the board has actually reconfigured lots, so that instead of the lots going 4 buildable units street to street, you have reconfigured them, realigned them, but you don't end up changing the density. The splitting of lots, it gives me the concern that they may perceive that they have taken 4 buildable lots and turned them into
Into
8,
one.
when in fact they
Yeah,
have
we-
taken
Right.
4 buildable lots and turned them
You
into
don't
nothing.
have
Yeah, we've
really-
changed north and south to east and west, but the density remains the same.
That is correct, and I just respectfully, I would need more information before I would be able to get the
In order,
reading.
in order to have the
too.
square footage you have in one lot, you're gonna have to take 2 lots to have that same square footage.
Right,
That's also correct.
Yes,
that's right.
And that's the part that's giving me heartburn here.
okay.
It's got
And I want to make
half
sure that they're aware of that, because I don't want to come back and say, well, the board did this, and now we can't do this,
And it doesn't need to be
That-
piecemeal. If there's a future site plan, we need to have the site plan, we need to have the complete picture so that the board has all the information that it needs to make a decision.
I agree.
Okay. Sheila and Amy get together and send you all some
Did we
information.
vote on that motion?
To
We have a
table it.
motion and a second.
We had a motion and a second to
Okay.
table. Did we vote?
I don't know.
Let's vote.
Yeah, we voted on
Lawrence
that.
says we did.
We voted on.
To table it. Okay, item, I'm sorry.
Let's say, Commissioners, on item number 4, the applicant, Mr. Dan Meyer, has informed me that they are waiting on a court reporter who has been slightly delayed, and he has asked me to request that the board just pass on this item and move on through the agenda until their court reporter appears. It's the pleasure of the board.
I'm gonna go ahead and make my comments. As we've heard, there was some controversy as far as the way that this vote went down at the planning and zoning. There were some questions as to whether one of the members should have recused herself and not been voting on this item. My wife also works for the individual, Mr. Steve Rash at Blue Parrot Restaurant. Therefore, I would like to go out for an advisory opinion of the Ethics Commission, whether I should vote or not vote. Therefore, I will be asking that the board approve that and also table this item until such a advisory opinion is rendered back to me, whether I should or should not vote. Florida law says if I'm sitting here, I shall vote one way or the other, up or down, unless I can declare a conflict. I don't believe I have a conflict, but as I did in 2009, I want to go to the Ethics Commission and ask for an advisory opinion, and I would like to have a second on my motion to allow me to have time to do that so that everything is above board. And it also could potentially straighten out some of the questions that has been asked about the way the P&Z meeting went down.
Commissioner Parrish, do you want us to make the motion for you?
Either way,
Okay.
either I'll make the motion or someone else can make it.
I'll make the motion for you.
Second.
And if we could have a little bit of discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate Commissioner Parrish addressing this because there were some comments made at the P&Z meeting that I've been made aware of, and I think that when we are dealing with a delicate situation and when all of our actions are really going to be put under the microscope, it appears, and that's fair, and we would expect no less. We need to be very judicious and careful about the way we vote, which we always are. And so I appreciate Commissioner Parrish bringing this up because I know that he wants to do the right thing as this board wants to do the right thing, and we want to make a solid vote when we vote. And so I appreciate you doing that. And I just want the public to know why we were doing this and that it's important to get these votes right and to make sure that we weigh in a proper manner. And I thank you for that.
Well, you know, as I said, as I previously stated, I had to do this in 2009 on another issue, so it's not like this the first time or a delay tactic. It's something that needs to be done. As we've all been through our ethics training, we know what we need to do and what we don't need to do, and I think this, an abundance of caution, is the way to proceed.
And if I could maybe make an amendment to my motion, but it'd be for the board's pleasure, could we also piggyback Mr. Schuler and ask for an advisory opinion on the party in question at P&Z for his voting ability as well?
Commissioner, that's at the pleasure of the board, but I don't know that that would be necessary
Okay.
at this point. I would recommend that you leave the motion as
Okay.
is without amendment. My other comment would be that if it's the board's pleasure to table this matter so that Commissioner Parrish can seek an ethics opinion, that we not proceed with the public hearing, that there not be any public discourse on the merits of the application, either one side or the other, or those parties that are neutral. Let's get this ethics opinion, and then move forward and reschedule this public hearing, in due course once that opinion is returned.
And so your thinking is that we have to go back over the plowed ground once again when it comes up for consideration after the opinion?
Well, that's what I don't want us to do,
Right.
is to discuss this meeting today, because the board's motion is to table.
Okay.
So you need to table, not have any discussion on the merits, and then when the opinion returns, we will reschedule this public hearing, this P&Z hearing, and then you will plow the ground for the first time,
Okay, all right.
so to speak.
I'll make that motion that we table.
Yeah.
Commissioner
We did.
Lockwood, we already have a motion and a second on the floor to table and to authorize Commissioner Parrish to seek an advisory ethics commission
And I second it, so.
A
opinion.
motion second on the floor, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Now, Mr. Schuler, he's not gonna get to show none of his stuff, or?
No, sir, it's been tabled.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that's what tabling means, is it's tabled until the advisory opinion comes back, and then the board will hold a public hearing and discuss it at that time.
Somebody want to speak in order.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, can she speak?
Certainly she can speak. My recommendation at this point is that there not be a response back from the board because you tabled the matter. But
Okay.
certainly she's entitled to speak, and you're obligated to listen to whatever she may want to tell.
Listen, but not speak back, okay.
Well, if I can't engage in a dialogue, then there's no reason to speak. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Next time.
Next item.
Next, we go to Board of Adjustment. There was one item there, a request for variance to construct a single-family house 13 feet into the front setback line on property described as 764 West Gorey Drive, also known as Lot 9, Block 8, Unit 3 on St. George Island. The request was submitted by Galloway Construction, agents for George Lee and Linda Plymell, Plymel's Properties Trust. That was approved, and there were no objections.
Mr. Second, little discussion, please.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
On the basis of this, I recommend it because We had, discussed it pretty thoroughly when it came before us as a P&Z recommendation, in that it's lined up with the other homes and structures there along the way. It's not, the precedent's been set for this time and time again over there, and it does line up. It does not protrude or extend into an area beyond any other homes there. And this is due to the movement of the coastal control setback. The coastal control setback line has moved in recent time, and significantly, and it affected this construction. So based on our prior discussion and the way that this property construction does line up with all the other homes in place there, I don't have a problem with it. If it was the only one, I would disagree, but it's not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor. Yes, sir.
Discussion?
Yes, sir, come to the mic.
Mason Bean, St. George Island, retired state certified contractor, built about 60 homes on St. George. I have not seen the plans, I don't know, but from a philosophy, you're going to see bigger and bigger homes on St. George Island. A contractor usually gets a plan they like and they build it over and over and over again. If, when you buy a lot, this is my building footprint, you design the house to fit the permit, maintaining those setbacks. And you redraw the plans. If a single story doesn't work, then you build a two-story. I mean, you can still get the space you want. If it's a true hardship, it's one thing. And there again, I haven't seen the plan, so I don't know if it's a true hardship, except you can design most anything to fit the property. As we get bigger homes, you're going to see that go into the setback, which that means the parking spills out. Now you're on the right of way. Now you're blocking there, and there's some. You're going to see bigger homes, and I just hope you'll uphold the integrity of those setbacks and protect St. George. Thank you.
On this one, the 13 feet, what it is it's stairs. It's not actual living space. It's stairway.
Thank you.
Thank you.